So imagine someone hands you this highly advanced next generation GPS system.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right, and it's a genuine marvel of engineering. It knows every single pothole on the road. It calculates traffic patterns down to the absolute millisecond.
Sounds pretty great, honestly.
Right, and it can even tell you the exact optimal speed to maximize your fuel efficiency. But there is a catch.
There's always a catch.
Always. This incredible piece of technology has absolutely no idea if you are rushing to the hospital for an emergency or if you're just taking, a slow, scenic Sunday drive to clear your head.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, it has all the data in the world about the journey,
Yeah.
but it is completely blind to the destination.
It gives you the what and the how, but it completely misses the why.
Exactly.
And that disconnect, that is at the core of this massive paradox we're seeing in the market today. We are living in an era of absolute information abundance, yet somehow consumer satisfaction metrics are actually backsliding.
Which is wild. And that tension right there is our focus for today's deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating blog post from Denyse Drummond-Dunn at C3 Centricity.
Right, and she's a global expert who consults with executives in the consumer packaged goods industry. The CPG companies making the food, the drinks, the household products you buy every single week.
Yeah, and her piece explores this crazy friction between the blinding speed of modern AI analytics and the incredibly messy, kind of chaotic reality of true customer understanding.
Because the central premise here is that having access to more consumer data than literally any prior generation of managers, that should theoretically lead to sharper decisions.
You would think so.
You would, but the reality on the ground is proving to be very, very different.
Okay, let's unpack this because the author uses a phrase that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
She says organizations are becoming data-rich and reality-poor.
Yes, that's such a perfect way to describe it.
Right. Like, they are measuring every micro interaction, every click, every dwell time on a web page, but they're understanding progressively less about the actual human beings behind those clicks.
To really understand why that's happening, we have to look at how executives are actually digesting all this information. In the corporate world today, this data-rich environment manifests as dashboards.
So many dashboards.
Endless. A strategy meeting today is essentially just a room full of people staring at a wall of numbers.
I can picture it vividly. Just endless spreadsheets. You've got, penetration rates, basket mix, which, is just a fancy way of saying what combination of things you threw in your grocery cart.
Right, exactly.
And price elasticity,
Yeah.
measuring whether you'll stop buying your favorite cereal if it costs, say, 50 cents more.
And all of those metrics are vital, don't get me wrong, but they are completely overwhelming to process manually, and that is exactly where AI is stepping in.
To save the day, supposedly.
Supposedly, companies are deploying large language models to, quote-unquote, clean up that massive wall of numbers. Because an AI can ingest 100 different dashboards, classify thousands of customer complaints, and just spit out a neat, professional-sounding strategic summary in seconds.
Which, that sounds like the ultimate efficiency hack, right? It takes all the noise and just hands you the executive summary.
It is efficient. But what's fascinating here is that AI accelerates the wrong answer just as efficiently as the right one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because you have to think about how these AI models operate. They operate on statistical probability. They are literally designed to predict the most mathematically common next word or concept. So by their very nature, they find the median line.
Wait, I need to make sure I'm following the logic here.
Yeah.
Are you saying that because the AI is programmed to find the statistical average, it actively deletes the outliers?
Yes.
So does it actually make us learn less by stripping away all the weird, irrational contradictions that just make us human?
That is the mechanical reality of how these models function. Think about it. When an AI reads 10,000 focus group transcripts, it is trained to identify the dominant theme.
Right.
And in doing so, it removes the awkward pause before a customer answers a question. It completely scrubs out the nervous laugh. It irons out that contradiction between what a person claims they're going to do on a survey and what they actually grab off the shelf.
Because to a machine learning algorithm, a contradiction just looks like a mathematical error. It looks like dirty data that needs to be cleaned.
Exactly. And there is rigorous academic research proving how dangerous this false clarity can be. There was a February 2026 MIT study by researchers Sinan Aral, Haiwen Lee, and Rui Zhuo, and they analyzed this exact phenomenon.
Right, the MIT study, the scale of this was huge, wasn't it?
Massive.
Okay.
They looked at a data set of 24,000 search queries across 243 countries.
That is a staggering amount of data. So what happens when people rely on AI to summarize contested or complex topics at that kind of scale?
Well, the researchers found that AI search surfaces significantly fewer long-tail information sources.
And by long tail, you mean?
Long tail meaning those nuanced, niche, or kind of contradictory perspectives that just don't fit the most common narrative. Furthermore, the AI actually surfaced more low-credibility information compared to traditional search methods.
Which makes sense because the AI doesn't actually know what is true.
Right.
It just knows what is frequently stated.
That is the danger right there. But the most alarming finding from the MIT study was about human behavior.
Oh.
Users who were exposed to these flattened AI summaries ended up forming more confident but less accurate beliefs.
Wow. That is terrifying when you apply it to a boardroom setting.
Yeah.
More confident but less accurate.
Precisely.
Because the AI doesn't say, hey, I'm ignoring 15% of your customers because their behavior was mathematically noisy. It just presents a perfectly formatted slide deck that feels like absolute truth.
Right. And when a complex world is compressed into a convenient bulleted list, people just stop searching around the edges of the problem. They stop asking what the algorithm might have missed. And in consumer behavior, what gets missed is almost always the friction, and real people are defined by their friction.
The source material is some great examples of this, actually. Like, as a consumer, I will confidently tell the survey that price is my absolute number one factor. I'm a rational economic actor.
Of course you are.
But then I walk into the pharmacy and I buy the $30 skin cream instead of the $10 one, simply because the heavy glass jar makes me feel safer about what I'm putting on my face.
And we see those contradictions constantly. Like, a demographic will demand sustainable packaging in focus groups, but the moment a brand actually switches to recycled cardboard, sales plummet.
Because it doesn't look fancy anymore.
Exactly. It no longer looks premium sitting on a bathroom counter. Or, shoppers will demand a massive variety of flavors, but when they stand in front of a shelf with 50 options, they get decision fatigue, they totally freeze up, and they just buy the same flavor they've bought for 10 years.
Right. And an AI summary looks at that behavior and categorizes it as an anomaly to be averaged out. But the argument here is that the friction isn't noise. The contradiction is the entire point.
Exactly. The contradiction is the insight.
So if you let an algorithm erase the weirdness of human behavior, you are going to make some very, very expensive strategic mistakes.
Let's look at the real-world fallout of those mistakes. Because when executives isolate themselves behind these confident AI summaries, the actual people buying the products eventually feel that disconnect.
They absolutely do. And Forrester's 2025 CX Index, which measures customer experience across the U.S., it paints a pretty grim picture of this.
It really does.
The overall customer experience quality fell for the 4th consecutive year.
And a 4-year slide indicates a systemic failure, not just a temporary blip. The index reached a new average low of 68.3 out of 100.
Yikes.
Yeah, and Forrester researchers directly attributed this decline to what they call a waning customer obsession, alongside disappointing technology implementations.
Waning customer obsession is such a polite corporate phrase.
It really is.
For you, the listener, it basically just means you are stuck yelling the word agent into your phone while an automated bot cheerfully misunderstands your problem for the 5th time in a row.
Exactly. And the Zendesk 2026 CX Trends Report completely backs up your frustration. They found that 83% of consumers believe their experiences should be better than they currently are.
83%.
Think about that number in context. Over the last 3 years, corporations have invested billions of dollars into AI customer service operations.
So what does this all mean? The data suggests that companies are building these massive, highly efficient customer service systems, but the consumers are feeling completely alienated.
They're feeling locked out.
Yeah. It sounds like brands are building these massive automated fortresses, and the customers are just left standing outside in the cold, knocking on the drawbridge.
That's a great analogy. It feels like dealing with an overeager librarian who insists on handing you a 1-paragraph summary of a novel and completely skips the tragic ending.
Right.
Sure, it's a very efficient way to consume the book, but you've entirely missed the emotional weight of the story. And the underlying technology actually explains why it feels that way.
Oh, so?
Well, a 2025 customer experience management study tested state-of-the-art AI models in realistic customer service scenarios. And these systems use what are called embedding models.
Okay, embedding models.
Right. An embedding model basically takes human language, like a furious, frustrated email from a customer, and it translates it into mathematical vectors so the computer can process it.
So it literally turns human anger into geometry.
Essentially, yes. But in translating emotion into math, immense nuance is lost. The study found that even the best models only reached 68% accuracy in actually resolving realistic customer scenarios.
Only 68%. That's a D+.
Exactly. Because real operational customer experience is heavily dependent on context, tone, empathy. When a company relies too heavily on vectors and math to handle a frustrated human, operational efficiency basically just translates into coldness.
Which really begs the question of how smart people let this happen. I mean, the executives running these major brands aren't cartoon villains trying to make us miserable.
Right, they're not trying to ruin your day.
So how do they become so incredibly disconnected from the people actually buying their products?
The source material suggests it's a gradual drift. It almost always begins with the language used inside the company. The distance from consumer reality starts really subtly, right there in the meeting room.
It's the corporate jargon, isn't it?
It is. Jargon sanitizes reality. When executives talk, a living, breathing human being with a budget and real anxieties, they just become a segment.
Right.
A stressed mother calling in with a legitimate product complaint becomes a ticket. Shoppers who literally can't afford a new price hike are clinically labeled price sensitive. And people who are genuinely confused by chaotic packaging are just dismissed as having low engagement.
Because it is a lot easier to ignore a segment with low engagement than it is to admit your packaging is just confusing.
Exactly.
But I do want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Put yourself in the shoes of a busy listener. Most of us are just trying to get through the grocery store and get home. Do these internal corporate buzzwords really matter to the end consumer? Like, does a tiny formulation tweak or a slightly smaller cardboard box actually cause a massive erosion of brand trust?
Well, in absolute isolation, a single tweak might go totally unnoticed. If a brand only made one minor change every 5 years, you probably wouldn't care.
Right. I wouldn't notice.
But in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, decisions are small, they are rapid, and most importantly, they are cumulative. The financial incentives push teams to constantly optimize.
Ah, so it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly. Let's trace a hypothetical product over, say, a 2-year timeline. Quarter 1. The marketing team tweaks a health claim on the front of the box.
Okay, harmless enough.
Quarter 3. The finance team quietly shrinks the pack size by an ounce to maintain profit margins. Quarter 5. The supply chain team adjusts the formulation to save a fraction of a cent per unit on raw ingredients.
I see where this is going.
And then quarter 7. The customer service team launches that new automated bot we talked about to reduce call center costs.
And none of those individual decisions sound dramatic in a PowerPoint presentation. They all just look like smart, optimized cost savings.
But the consumer doesn't experience the PowerPoint. They experience their favorite product slowly turning into a frustrating, inferior version of what they used to love.
Right. They just know the box is smaller, the taste is slightly off, the claim feels misleading, and they can't even get a human on the phone to ask why.
This raises an important question, though. Who in the boardroom is actually keeping a pulse on this cumulative erosion?
Who indeed?
Right. Like, who has the authority to look at the AI dashboard showing a 2% cost saving and say, wait, actual human beings are going to hate this?
There has to be someone fighting that fight.
There is, and the desperate need for that exact person is actually driving a massive boom in the market research industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If AI is taking over so much of the basic analytics, you might assume traditional market researchers are losing their jobs, right?
I absolutely assume that.
The exact opposite is happening. Research and Markets projects the industry will hit $96.77 billion in 2026.
Wow.
And the business research company expects it to reach $116.02 billion by 2030.
That is over $100 billion being spent by corporations just trying to figure out what people actually want.
And Greenbook's 2026 GRIT report, which is a major benchmark in the insights industry, explains why.
Yeah.
As internal analytics teams lean on AI for massive scale and speed, research buyers are desperately seeking depth, context, and human understanding to balance it out.
Because scale without depth just produces patterns without meaning.
Perfectly said.
Okay, so we've established that the confident AI summary is a trap. The jargon creates a wall, and the customer experience is dropping as a result of all this. How do we fix this? How does a modern organization blend the necessary scale of AI with the messy reality of human emotion?
This is where Denyse Drummond-Dunn's piece shifts from diagnosing the problem to offering concrete solutions. She argues that true commercial thinking requires putting the contextual why back in front of the mathematical what.
Okay, give me an example.
Consider a manager running a pet food brand. They log in on a Monday and the AI dashboard flashes red. Market share is dropping.
The natural instinct there, probably backed by a predictive AI model, is to just drop the price by 5% and run a promotion to regain the volume, right?
Exactly. But that reaction treats a symptom without diagnosing the disease. A manager with deep customer understanding has to pause the automated response and find the human context.
Why are they actually leaving?
Right. Why are pet owners walking away? Are they suddenly worried about the digestive health of older dogs? Is there some viral news report making them anxious about ingredient safety? Or are they just annoyed that the new bag design doesn't reseal properly so the food goes stale?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that context changes the entire strategy. Because if the real issue is that a dog owner is terrified about ingredient safety, and your company's automated response is to email them a 50-cent discount coupon.
You aren't just solving the wrong problem, you are actively making it worse.
Because to an anxious pet owner, a sudden price drop just signals cheap ingredients and lower quality.
Exactly. Solving the wrong problem efficiently is the fastest way to destroy a brand's equity.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The author doesn't just offer philosophy. She outlines specific frameworks used as C3 centricity to force this human context back into the decision-making process.
Right. The goal is to stop the rush from raw data straight to a tactical reaction.
So let's talk about these frameworks.
The first one she highlights is called CATSIGHT, and it is designed as a mandatory reality check. Before anyone in a strategy meeting is allowed to look at a dashboard or suggest a fix, they have to answer 4 specific questions about the consumer's reality.
Walk me through how a team would actually use that. Like if I'm a brand manager looking at a sales dip, how does this stop me from just running a discount?
Okay, so step 1 asks, what is the consumer actually experiencing in this category right now? And this isn't about what the business assumes. It is about what the consumer is actively living.
Okay.
For our pet food example, the team might realize consumers are experiencing an overwhelming number of conflicting claims about grain-free diets.
So step 1 forces you to look at the noise the customer is dealing with, rather than your internal sales target.
Correct. Step 2 asks, what are they truly trying to achieve? Because a parent buying premium organic baby food isn't just buying calories and vitamins.
No, they are buying peace of mind. They are buying the feeling that they are a good, responsible parent protecting their child.
Exactly, the kind of nuance an AI misses.
Right.
Step 3 gets even more specific. Which consumers matter most to the specific commercial outcome, and what tension is driving their behavior? Yes. Identifying a demographic like millennial dog owners is useless. The tension is the insight. The tension might be, I want to feed my dog like a wolf, but I live in a tiny apartment and need the food to not smell terrible.
That tension is where the actual product innovation comes from. That's brilliant. And the final step.
Step 4 asks, what human truth should guide the business response? Once you understand the lived experience, the emotional goal, and the tension, you can design a solution that actually resonates, rather than just tweaking the price elasticity model.
So CATSIGHT essentially acts as a translation layer.
Yeah.
It takes the raw spreadsheet data and forces the team to map it onto actual human emotion and friction.
That's a great way to put it.
But even if a marketing team nails that insight, it still has to survive the rest of the company, right?
Yes. That is the secondary point of failure, which brings us to the second framework, the QC2 framework. Because organizations frequently fail to deliver great experiences simply because they are internally misaligned. The marketing team might uncover a brilliant human truth using CATSIGHT, but then the finance team vetoes the execution to save money.
Or the IT team says, the website can't support the new feature.
Exactly. So the insight just dies in committee. The QC2 framework is a diagnostic tool to uncover that exact misalignment. It forces the executive team to ask really hard questions about their internal architecture.
Like what kind of questions?
Like, are the company's processes actually designed to protect the customer experience at every touch point? Or have those processes slowly mutated over time to just protect internal convenience and departmental budgets?
So it basically acts as an organizational bodyguard.
Exactly.
CATSIGHT translates the messy human reality, and then QC2 makes sure the corporate bureaucracy doesn't accidentally crush that reality before the product ever makes it onto the store shelf.
Because if a brilliant insight can't survive your own company's internal approval process, it isn't an insight, it's just corporate theater.
Corporate theater. Man, that is a very sharp way to describe a lot of modern strategy meetings.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And it really brings us to the core takeaway of this entire deep dive. I mean, we've explored the MIT data showing how algorithms flatten our world. We talked about the billion-dollar research boom trying to find nuance and the frameworks required to protect human insight.
Right.
And it all boils down to a fundamental distinction. Data is not understanding, and AI is not judgment.
Exactly. A clean, mathematically perfect dashboard is not a consumer.
No, it's not. The companies that are going to win the next decade of growth, they aren't going to throw their AI models in the trash. They will use AI brilliantly to process scale.
Absolutely.
But they will never let that technology replace direct contact with the messy, contradictory reality of the people actually buying their products. Because you can fake a lot of things in a slide deck. You can fake momentum, you can fake confidence. But you absolutely cannot fake deep customer understanding.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the market feels incredibly noisy and unpredictable right now. But customers are constantly communicating.
They really are.
They are telling brands what matters to them every single day. They communicate through what they buy, what they abandon in their online shopping carts, what they actually take the time to complain about, and what mistakes they are ultimately willing to forgive.
All of that data is just sitting there.
It is. The only real question is whether anyone inside the organization is listening closely enough to understand the why beneath it all.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a really interesting question to mull over as we wrap up today. We spent this time dissecting how AI algorithms are specifically trained to give us the neat, tidy, average answer by scrubbing out human friction.
Right.
But what if the most successful, beloved, and iconic brands of the future are the ones that actively run in the opposite direction?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Right. What if the ultimate business advantage in an AI-dominated world is actively designing for the outliers? Like embracing the weird, irrational, and contradictory human behaviors that the machines are trying so desperately to erase.
It's a compelling thought. There's real power in the outliers.
I think so too. If the AI is trying to build a perfectly flat, clean road without any potholes, maybe the brands that survive will be the ones who remember why we wanted to go for a drive in the first place. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.